Ryan. This is my brother Daniel. This is Rolls in the Family. And today we are talking about the reasons why we are mostly done with crowdfunding campaigns, whether that is Kickstarter, a game found very, very popular in modern days in board game, the way that board games get to consumers. It's a huge part of the hobby. And so we're going to talk a little bit about kind of, our experiences with it and a lot of the reasons why we've cooled on it a lot, I would say, over the years. We're interested to hear where other people are at of this. You can leave in the comments below, maybe after you kind of listen to some of our reasons. Where are you at with crowdfunding? Is it something you've done in the past? Are you still really high on it? Is it something you really enjoy? Something I want to, touch on up front is we are not like hating on crowdfunding, either from the perspective of publishers, like, I totally get why publishers do this. Like, it is to the point where it almost, these board game publishers are often very low margin, small operations, like, and they're selling physical goods. Like, this is not easy to do. It almost is like irresponsible as a business to not take advantage of the marketing engine that crowdfunding has become for board games. So totally get why a lot of publishers turn to this. I also am not hating on people who really enjoy crowdfunding. Like, this is really just our experience.
We have to say mostly done because both of us literally have crowdfunded games that either have or are arriving this week.
Since writing up the script for this video.
You are such a hypocrite.
So I'm a complete hypocrite. No, we'll maybe talk a little bit about that at the end. And so these aren't in any particular order, kind of just meant to flow well. And yeah, it should be an interesting discussion here. We'll see.
Sure hope so.
Yeah, Daniel is not. You weren't involved a lot in the scripting of this. You're kind of gonna.
I give the more authentic, just on the spot, thoughts on things.
Yeah, you could just like straight disagree with points that I have on here, and we can debate them.
I'm gonna fight each one.
But we got 13 points to get through here, Daniel. So let's keep it moving. Number one reason, actually, that makes it sound like it's the top reason, but the first reason I want to talk about is that when you're crowdfunding, the purchasing decision is based more on marketing hype than validated content. And so part of this is you got to realize, like, when you're looking at a crowdfunding page, it's a big marketing advertisement. And they've gotten very good at these advertisements.
Yes,
They're very good. I mean, almost nowhere else in the board gaming hobby are you going to see a sales page that's quite as effective for a board game as these Kickstarter or GameFound pages. And so it really, is effective at psychologically getting you to buy into the idea that this is going to be a really, really good game. But like, there's tons of games that are out there that already have reviews, already have all of this validation of what they are and how well they've been received. And so you just have to understand that, like, that's not what you're usually getting with crowdfunding. Now, a lot of our crowdfunding campaigns we've backed have been like second editions of games. In fact, I have very rarely backed something that was like a brand new game.
See, Foundations of Rome? Is that...
No, even that wasn't the first printing of it.
Oh, okay. So there was
almost
already,
most of mine are games that were coming back, maybe with an additional expansion.
Okay.
Or if they were new, they were maybe like a, new one in a series, like a sequel or something. And they were always from like established companies. So it's honestly a completely different ball game that we're not even that familiar with to go in on a completely new game from a new publisher, which is a lot of what crowdfunding does as well.
Right.
And so when you're looking at this page, it doesn't mean the game won't be amazing. It just means you don't have nearly as much data points, to actually
it's
go
extremely
off of.
risky. I mean, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
You're going in much more blind than you would be if you
and
knew
your data
the reviews.
Points, you just have to understand the data points you do have are completely through this lens of selling you on the idea of it. And so it's naturally going to make it.
I know. I'm waiting for that crowdfunding page. It's like, the game's fine. It's got some flaws.
It's got a 7 out of 10 right here, but
7
worth
out of
buying.
10, but I think you'll like it.
So that's the first big one. And I think it's a good thing to calibrate in your brain to be aware of when you're looking at like a page like that. It's just understanding the perspective they're coming from. The second point I have here is that you often have the temptation to prematurely pull the trigger on expansion content.
Yeah.
Now, we actually love expansion content generally in the hobby. Some people aren't big on expansion content. We love a lot of expansions to our favorite games, but I think we really enjoy the arc of getting a game, playing it a lot, then getting an expansion once we really love it, and kind of like that getting spread out. But it is very common, very, very common in these crowdfunding campaigns that there's a lot of expansion content that is lumped into big bundles, or, a lot of times with these games that are coming back to crowdfunding, they're coming back with a new expansion as well. And often it's like optimized in the pricing that like you want to get.
Oh, totally.
Both.
I mean, that's the temptation, right? Is that it's like, well, if you get it all right now, you're gonna save this.
Yeah.
And it's always like, I don't know, like, oh, psychologically you start at like, okay, I'm gonna get this level, but if you just pay this little bit more, and so then you keep like justifying the next price tier, which is total like how marketing's designed, right? Is to get you to get to one level. They want to move you to one level, so that, and then you're set there, and then it's like
it's just upselling.
Yeah,
things
it just keeps a little bit more.
And it's interesting. So I actually recently was reading the book Predictably Irrational, which talks about a lot of the ways that humans aren't rational in the way we think and stuff. And it was talking about this concept, of relative.
Did a human write that book? Wait a second.
This concept of relative proportionality, which is this concept that we're more sensitive to price increases that are a greater percentage of the original price. And so what ends up happening is when you've spent $120 on going on a crowdfunding, and then they're like, oh, and now you can get this $25 expansion, you go, oh, of course, just add it on.
But you are convicting me so hard
if that was in just like retail for $25, your brain would go, oh, I don't need that expansion for $25. $25, I could like get a new game for 20.
Right.
Like you would be in a different mind space. But because it's only 25 on top of 120, it's the same reason he talks about in the book. Like people, when they're planning like a big vacation, they'll add on like these multi-$100 add-ons onto the vacation without even thinking about it much, because it's part of this broader package. But then the same person will drive across town to a different store to pay like $5 less for a $15 item or something. So it's a very interesting psychological thing. And I tell you, these crowdfunding campaigns definitely lean into that. And it gets even worse with the crowdfunding campaigns because there's often this concept of all in. Right? Like there's the different options and then there's the all-in option. Well, I've been part of multiple campaigns where it's all in, but then things get revealed as the campaign goes on as optional buy-ins. Well, think of what happens psychologically here. I already have come to the decision, I think I'm going to go all in on this one. I think I want to go all in. Well, then a new thing gets added. I go, well, I already decided I was going all in.
So I need to get that.
Like I already made that decision. So naturally I'm going to add it on. I would have gone all in even if this had been there. And so now you're like even more, besides the fact that the relative, amount it's just like you stand no chance. They're just upselling you the rest of the way.
Right.
So it is a dangerous thing. And in reality, I have multiple games that I've crowdfunded that I got like some amount of expansion content with that I still have not touched the expansion content. And I probably will eventually, but did I need to get it up front with it? No, I really didn't. So that is another thing that I am finding is making it less attractive to go in on these. Let's go to my third point, which, continuing on expansions, is that you get the expansions all at the same time. And this is getting back to what I was talking about of like, we like this arc of, think of a game like Elder Tor that we played over 10 years. We played it a lot and slowly got expansions. We would play it more, get the next expansion, play it, get the next expansion. I love that arc in a game that you love, and getting some new content for it. And that is completely thrown away when I get a giant box on my doorstep that has all the expansions in it immediately. It turns into something that's overwhelming because you haven't even necessarily played the base game yet. You don't really know the things besides the fact that you may not even end up wanting these expansions. You kind of like are assuming that
Right.
you will. But it also just like puts you in this weird situation of the pacing of introducing, and you're pressured to kind of introduce it sooner than you probably should.
I paid for this. Like it's
I want to play with this new
Right.
stuff. And so you get honestly a worse player experience of how you experience the base game and then experience the expansions because of it all coming at the same time.
Well, and I think about for us, one thing we don't like in expansions is when expansions just make the game more obtuse, more complicated. And you think about in a crowdfunding where you're just adding more and more stuff that hasn't been, and going back to our like first point, that hasn't been reviewed, hasn't, it's obviously been tested, but maybe not like at the broader, people of like seeing if and so sometimes you have all these expansions and it ends up making the game way more complicated, harder to table, especially to new people, than it would have been, at the beginning. And so I guess if you have the self-restraint to just like put the expansions in the closet and then
I literally try to like be like, I'm not even going to open this until I get to the point where I feel like I would have considered buying it, if I was going through retail.
Right.
But it's tricky, man.
It is.
You're fighting with a lot of instincts there.
I know.
Speaking of instincts, this whole crowdfunding thing, and this is my fourth point here, trains your brain in that cult of the new mindset. Like that is what you are training your brain. Because think about it. When you choose to put your money into a crowdfunding campaign for some new game, you're doing that instead of putting that money into any board game you could buy right now, like that you could get, through retail. And so you're putting your board gaming excitement to this future thing more than the current thing. And that isn't necessarily always bad, but it does train your brain. Like this is something that like over time, if you keep doing that, you're naturally going to be drawn to be more excited about the things that haven't come yet than the things that you can get right now. I know this is something we generally try to resist, like that siren call of the cult of the new. I think especially since we've started this channel, we've become even more aware of it because we had a lot of talks about kind of direction on this channel. We've been very intentional that we don't want to just be pushing new stuff on this channel. We love talking about old games. We feel like I'm so glad there are channels that talk about all the new games. I watch a lot of them. That's where I get a lot of my information. But I do believe that the online board game content space could benefit from more content being put out that isn't just the new, because it besides the internal, for an individual that's being pulled to that, when all the media you're consuming is also pushing in that direction, that makes it really hard to not fall into that trap.
Well, and I think this is the flaw in thinking is, you think about other like areas of products. Like I think about like a new iPhone or whatnot that gets released every year. And you can pretty much assume that the new one is going to be better than the old one, that every year it's getting better and better. And you can kind of just...
It's getting more and more diminishing, though.
No, totally. Diminishing returns. But you can at least trust that, like, this is the best version. But I think we take that mindset into board games as well and just assume that the newest ones coming out are the best, the best ones, when that's not how, like... the hobby is,
some of
right?
Some of it is the data that's presented to you. On one hand, you have an established game that has all this data and has positive reviews, but also has a lot of negative reviews. Because look up any very popular good game, there's a lot of negative reviews for it. Whereas the new thing, typically, all the data you can find for it is only positive because you're in that like marketing and previews, and so your brain is like, oh well, this naturally feels better because I'm not getting like negatives, I'm not having doubts planted as part of it. But yeah, we definitely like to fight anything we can do to fight the always needing to go to the new and enjoying what we have. Onwards to number 5, let's talk a little bit about timing. When you go buy something from retail, you might get it in a couple days. That is not the case with crowdfunding. There's typically a long wait between committing to the game and receiving the game.
I think you could say always, Ryan. Like, not even typically.
Yeah. Always. And long time, I mean, I'd say usually in the ballpark of a year. Like the normal Kickstarters I see, maybe it's close to 6 months to a year or longer. But the piece I want to focus on here is when we introduce games to our collection, do it pretty intentionally with how it's going to get played. And, I typically don't like getting too many big games close together because they kind of steal each other's thunder a little bit, right? Like, you want to like fully enjoy a new game that you get. And so I like to be able to kind of control when I'm getting new games. But when you're doing these crowdfunding campaigns, you're basically predicting what you in a year would want to do with that money, right? Like, so it's like, what are the odds that when it delivers at that moment, if I had the money, would I still have chosen to buy that over anything else I could have bought? Sometimes the answer is yes. I've gotten games in the mail that I'm like, yes, this is literally still my top game on my wish list. There's been other times that I'm like, there's been some other games I've found out about in the last year that or things have changed, and I would actually prefer maybe to have this other game than this new one I'm getting.
Right.
And so you're making a prediction that you don't have to make if you just purchase.
Well, and I think the other challenge with that is, and a psychological thing is, you're so detached now from when you actually spent the money. Yeah. So you kind of forget you think about like when you go to the store and you pay money and you get a game, you are feeling the sacrifice of that money is going away, where now you get all this stuff and it almost in almost a weird way, it feels like I just got this for like...
It's a gift.
It's a gift, right?
Yeah, it's such a sunk cost long ago.
Yeah, so you like forget like, oh my gosh, I actually paid this much, because I mean, you know the number, but you're so detached from the actual emotional
that's a good
sacrifice to it. And so it then is easier to keep being in that loop, in the future, because... Yeah, the feeling when you get this huge game at the door, it's like, oh my gosh.
You drop the big price tag at the moment that you're like most hyped about the, everything that's going on. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Now, it would be bad enough if, the games always are like going to be coming so much later. But it isn't just that they come so much later. It's that you have no idea when they're coming at all.
Ryan, you're saying they aren't honest?
If you're new to crowdfunding and you're going through the page and you see the thing that's like, this is going to deliver in April of 2026, let me just tell you, it probably is not delivering in April of 2026, like almost guaranteed. And I have the data to back this up.
Yeah, Ryan, run us through this here.
Note that all of these ones that I've backed are from very established companies that have run multiple Kickstarters. In most of them, it's a game that's a reprint of a game that already has done a full distribution cycle. So it's not even like a new thing to the production cycle. And let's go down here and see how delayed they were. I have that. I'm not going to go into the exact names, but 4 months delayed, 5 months delayed. I've had one that I've ever backed. Shout out to Terraforming Mars Prelude 2.
Yeah, I was going to say the smallest
which is a little tiny extension.
For
Came the month that they said on the campaign. So there you go. It's the only one.
Shout out.
Then I have 4 months late, 10 months late, 9 months late, 4 months late, 9 months late, 4 months late. And so that's like on average 6 months.
Yeah, the average of 6 months late.
And so you already have this date that's way far in the future. I'm predicting that's what I'm going to want at that point in time. But let me tell you, there's a 0 to 12 modifier that's randomly thrown on that, depending on how, there's just so many variables in play.
Yeah.
So you got to know that going in. And for me, it's actually a huge downside because it completely takes away my ability to decide when I'm getting something. So what ended up happening is I backed all these games that were like going to come in the summer. Summer is a good time for me to get some new games.
Not close to your birthday or Christmas at all.
The reason is my birthday is in December. And so December, birthday, Christmas, is I usually get some games as part of that. So I avoid buying games.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, I swear I had 4 campaigns.
Your wife's like,
delayed,
what in the world, Ryan?
And it was just like, December, the collection is blowing up. But it really is a big negative for me because I don't like getting that many big games. They all steal each other's thunder. I don't get the excitement I would have gotten out of getting one of them, at a more independent time. And I'm now thinking of like how I'm going to get all these to the table and planning it out. So yes, it's a very big negative for me that it's so unpredictable when these things are.
I think that's just your birthday's fault, Ryan. You should have been born
But you know what's
month.
even worse than it coming really late, Daniel? Is that there's a chance that it doesn't come at all. Now, this has not happened to me personally, but you do not have to go far on the internet to find plenty of stories of backers that have basically just lost their money and never got the game. And there's a variety of reasons. Oftentimes the company folds or and it's this good reminder that crowdfunding is not a pre-order system.
Yeah.
You are backing it in the good faith that these people are going to deliver, but there's no promise here.
Right.
You are trusting that they're going to be able to deliver. And there have been good, well-run companies that have ended up in a bad position where they're not able to deliver something.
Yeah.
And so you're taking on that risk as a consumer. It is, again, you can see why publishers, it's attractive. You're getting all the upfront capital from your consumers, way in advance, but it is shifting the risk to the consumer. And so again, you have to kind of ask that question of is that worth it to me versus just going and buying a game? Go to your local game store or an online retailer and just get a game in a few days. It's okay, you can start to see these points start adding up, Daniel.
Gosh, Ryan, these are compelling.
This is actually an intervention for Daniel.
Yes, I know. I'm like, gosh, Ryan's right.
Yes. So hopefully you don't find yourself in that position that you don't get the game at all. But it especially with some of the crazy stuff that's happened recently with tariffs and all this stuff it's definitely happens. Right. These shipping costs.
Oh gosh.
We are very trained in our culture to expect free shipping, right? We're used to Amazon. We're used to a lot of these online retailers. Well, typically in a crowdfunding campaign where you're getting directly from the publisher, you need to pay shipping. They're not at they can't offer free shipping without jacking up the price. And so there is usually a big shipping attached to it. The thing that gets me is the fact that oftentimes that shipping is not charged upfront with your pledge. It's not necessarily part of the pledge. And so what ends up happening, and this has happened to me many times, is I pledge, I'm like, oh yeah, I pledged that game. Now I'm going to kind of forget about it because I know it's not coming for forever. And then down the line, I get the email that's it's time to charge your credit card for, the $30 of shipping. And it's oh, I forgot I had $30 outstanding on this thing from 4 months ago or whatever.
That is the worst email in the world. There's nothing that makes me more angry than when I get that shipping cost email.
Yes. So it's a bit of a downer, and it's hard to psychologically remember that you've already taken that out of your.
So is that something that is intentionally because if I up front saw and by as I'm going to back said and by the way it's going to be this much shipping, is that a thing that they're trying to delay it so you don't know?
I don't know if some publishers charge it right up front. It might vary. I don't know if they
don't know fully how much the shipping's going to be.
I think the shipping is often an estimate, and then they really lock it down. And that's actually my second part of this point. Is there are times where these shipping costs can fluctuate, and this is another one that I know a lot of people have. Get very angry about because you thought you were paying this and suddenly it's wait, the shipping's going to be twice as much.
Yeah.
Because shipping is kind of this cost that's out of the publisher's control in a lot of ways.
Right.
And if it changes, it's this is what it costs to ship the game to you. And, a lot of publishers will try to absorb that. A really well-run campaign might build that into it that if shipping costs goes up, we've designed it such that we're going to absorb those costs. But not every campaign. There's campaigns where those costs basically get passed on to the backers. And so with those shipping costs, that brings me to point number 9, which is that oftentimes a draw of the Kickstarter or the crowdfunding page is you're going to get it at a better price than when it comes to retail. This is very common that you see that's this is the best price you'll find. In my experience, at least, I find that once you factor in the shipping, if you would have been buying from somewhere that has free shipping or, in person, I have not found it to necessarily be cheaper, or at least not much cheaper than if I had waited to retail and just bought it at retail.
Right.
And so that feels like a little bit of a like false draw to,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I tell you, Ryan, what's even cheaper than that is you wait and for the people who did back it, and then they sell it on
Facebook
Marketplace, and then you pick it up for a way cheaper price. That's the way to go.
That's really the strategy here, is just get 3-4 years behind and just crowdfund through the secondhand market.
That's what I do.
I mean, there's a lot of truth.
I'm not even
yeah, and it's going to be when there's tons of reviews and more information to justify the decision.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get away from kind of cost shipping stuff a little bit here. Let's talk, Dango, about our love-hate relationship with big deluxe versions. So this is very common in these, because the Kickstarters or crowdfunding campaigns are often designed to want to have a lot of extras, because that totally plays into the upsell strategy and the ability to like have the most successful, business campaign in selling this product. This often leads to, you're going to get the ultimate big box, right? That's going to have all the stuff in it. And I have definitely hard cool. What's a stronger word than cool? Frozen off on the appeal of big box editions. I like the idea of a big box in terms of it includes all the expansions. I do not like the idea of the box needing to be big, because a lot of times they're bigger than they need to be. And for me, like, bigger box is like always a negative. Like,
totally.
It is more space on my shelf. It is harder for me to bring places. Like, it is 100% a negative thing.
But it looks cool.
There are situations where it's like, okay, but it does store all the stuff I want for it really, really well.
Right.
Maybe I'm okay. Or sometimes this isn't a game that I'm going to bring somewhere very often, right? It's a game I'm almost always going to play where I'm at. But it is very, like, these crowdfunding campaigns are often funneling you to the best, like, decision being get the big version of it. There's an example, a game I really enjoy, Cartographers. The original game comes in this nice little box.
Right.
And I ended up backing the collector's edition. And I love that I got all the content that's in the collector's edition. It's a great product, very well done. But it's now 4 times the size. Like, it's like and there's been multiple times that, like, I've been packing a bag to go over to somebody's house for games and been like, Cartographers would be fun, but, like, I'm trying to fit in this bag, and I think I'm going to take these 2 other games instead. Whereas if it had been in the original box, 100% would have gotten thrown in the bag.
Well, I even think about, and this is a deluxe edition that we both, I think, it's a great example of a well-done deluxe edition in Dungeon Fighter. Like, we love the collector's edition. I think it is packed full of awesome stuff. But you still go back to, like, now with the size of the box, that is a harder game to take somewhere.
And it's one that I like to bring. Like, I often am packing a little, I don't know what you call kind of the foot-by-foot grocery bag type bag. Like, if I'm just going to an evening somewhere, if I choose to bring Dungeon Fighter, that's like 75% of my space in my bag. And so I have to be, like, pretty sure that's one that I want to bring. And it's totally true. I did show restraint in this area actually in a couple ways. So Thunder Road Vendetta, a game that we've talked about, and that was a crowdfunded one. First of all, I restrained myself from backing the second edition campaign. I actually said, I'm going to wait for retail.
Look at you.
But then the second thing I did is I said, you know what? I don't know that I want that Maximum Chrome edition, the big box that had everything that so looked like the edition you would want. The more I looked into it, the more I realized the base edition and the expansions I would want would all fit in the base box.
Yeah.
And they do. I have it now. And I'm so glad I did. It's this slimmer box on my shelf. Like, it's way better for what I want it to be. I'm like, I'm so glad this box isn't 3 times as big as it was.
Right.
So, big deluxe versions. Like, you got to ask yourself a little bit, the cost of having such a big...
Well, there's something psychologically where we just think bigger is better. Like, bigger is more epic, more fun. I know I feel that way, right?
Yeah.
And
we also, I think there's a big, like, buy into I want an all-in-one storage solution, and that's going to help me. A lot of times it makes it harder to get out and play. But I've also found, like, I have games that I have across multiple boxes. I have a base game box and I have an expansion box. And it almost is a feature because I'm able to have the base box have just the minimum to play it.
Yeah.
If I want to bring it and throw it in a bag, I can. The expansion is like the extra stuff. And so now I don't have to have
That's
it
what you
all
do
in
with
the same
Marvel
box.
United, right? You're able to...
Yeah. Well, there's no box that could have been all that I have. Yes.
But you're able to keep a base box that
exactly.
you can just
that
easily take. Yeah.
That was important for that game. Is I want to still be able to bring the small box and have this game be playable. Speaking of big boxes, this segues somewhat nicely. We love evangelizing board games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're on this channel. We love helping people find games they love. We love playing games with people and having them go, this was amazing, having them go out and buy it. What I don't like is when I play a game with somebody and they love it and I have to start caveating that, oh, I got this from this exclusive Kickstarter. You actually can't get this right now. You can't go get it right now. Or just so you know, when you go get this, yours isn't going to have any of these nice pieces.
Ways. Yeah.
It's not, all this is going to be different.
Right.
I just don't like that feeling. I so love playing a game with somebody and being like, you can go get this, and you can love it. And so more and more, that's been something that kind of comes into my brain when I'm thinking about these bigger deluxe with upgraded components is okay, just know you're going to have this feeling when you introduce this game to someone new.
It keeps them coming back to play with you.
Exactly. You hold them in there with the threat of, I won't invite you back.
That's right.
To play these exclusive games.
Yeah.
It's a little thing. But it does, every time it happens, it happens with Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a little bit different. That wasn't a big Kickstarter, but we got the upgraded chips for it. But it's that same feeling of I always have to be just know if you go buy this game.
But at least they can get the chips. At least it's not, the worst is if it's exclusive content that it's sorry, no, you can't get that.
Yeah. Or it's going to make it an $150 game if you want to be like this.
Totally.
Yeah. Number 12. This is actually kind of influenced by us starting this channel. A big goal with this channel was that we didn't want the channel to dictate our board game playing. We wanted our board game playing to more dictate the content. We want to keep playing games the way we love. That's a big reason why you don't see Kickstarter previews and things. It's just not how we want to be spending our personal board gaming time. And so that's... If we were to decide to back a lot of Kickstarters, naturally that is going to become a lot of what we talk about on the channel. And you've probably, if you've been on the channel for a while, you've heard us talk about games we've gotten through crowdfunding campaigns and games that we've liked. But I don't love when that's the focus of our content. And again, some of it goes back to the I like being able to recommend games that people can go get right now. Part of it is I just feel like there needs to be more voices in the hobby that are you don't have to go back on these crowdfunding campaigns and and so that is a new lens that I'm looking at these decisions through is okay, if I back this thing, then that's what we're going to be talking about on the channel when I get it and play it.
We have found that to be incredibly liberating for just this channel, because I feel you go into that lane, and again, I'm grateful for the channels that do it because they can. It's how we learn about these games. But man, the fact that we're not bound to, oh my gosh, we got to play this game and put a video out for this game, because we're backing or getting all these games. We can just play the games we love. And
when I have a board game day, I can just, what are the games that we want to play? There's none of this oh, because of the channel we need.
And with our viewers, we can genuinely share our thoughts of both new games but games that are old as well, and see how they when you see our even top games just came out, and we have lots of old games in that list, and so you can start to see where games fall despite some being new, some older.
Is that decision good for the financials of the channel? No, probably not.
Absolutely not.
Let's just say there's a lot more money in the previews and going after the new stuff. But, we're building what we'd like to build here. But it does definitely influence the attractiveness of some of these Kickstarter campaigns. Right. Let's bring it home.
Let's do it.
With point 13, which I think is we just kind of want to put our money where our mouth is a little bit. if we're saying all these things are things that we don't love about the crowdfunding model. And while there's a lot of good crowdfunding has done for the board game hobby and games that have come out and stuff, there's also a lot of negative, I think, in how it's changed consumer habits and some of the practices and the FOMO and the exclusives. I definitely prefer the model of more games being available at retail. I talk about like when I introduce a game to somebody, I love when the game's available if they want to go get it. And the more things push to the Kickstarter model, the more that isn't true, right? That they're just not available at Kickstarter. And so it's like, okay, well, if that's what we kind of prefer, we got to kind of put our money where our mouth is and like buy things at retail or buy things, at your local game store. And so, like we said in the intro, you can't blame the publishers that like they're using this tool that's available to them and very, very effective. But you also can't complain about it if like that's how you buy a lot of games.
Right. No, totally.
So this isn't to say we're never going to back a crowdfunding campaign.
I'm playing a crowdfunded game tonight.
I mentioned that I actually backed a campaign since writing this up, though I have backed way fewer in the last year. I've been getting a lot of games because it's so delayed that it's all coming in from when I was backing more of them. But I want to talk a little bit about what does it take to get through my filter? So I actually backed the recent Paperback Adventures. I forget what it was called, but that it's got a new character and a new kind of big box version and an expansion thing for it. And so there were a few things I think that made this one feel like it made sense for me. One is it's like new expansion content for a game I love. It's not a new game or anything. It's just like more content. And it's a game that really benefits from more content. This is a very roguelike game that having more stuff really expands the possibilities in it. It's also primarily a solo game. So I don't have to worry about any of those like introducing players to a deluxe version of it or getting it to the table with my game groups. It really is just more for me.
Right.
I'm also confident I would get this in retail eventually. Now you might say, why don't you?
I was thinking
that would be a good question. I think part of it is I think the big storage box was not going to be coming to retail, and I actually was pretty interested in that to have a better way to store the game. I also think in this game, Fowers Games, who published it, they're a smaller publisher. They're the type of publisher that kind of like needs the crowdfunding more than like there's some of these publishers that you're like, you didn't need to crowdfund this. Like you could have just like released the game. And so I feel a little better about supporting them. And it's a pretty niche game. And so that I really, really enjoy. So I do like, supporting them.
Right.
Now, is all that just me trying to justify myself for pulling the trigger on that? Probably. But you could see how like there's still a scenario where I might, but I tell you, like my default for all the reasons we talked about here has really changed from like maybe I'll consider it to like default to no.
Well, as you can tell, Ryan and I love old games. We love new games too. We love board games. And we actually just finished our top 50 board games of all time. We've got a playlist right here that you can click on and check out to see how all of our favorite games stack up. But we will see you in the next one.